Lately, I've been receiving a lot of good questions on the technical aspects in making artisan keycaps, but I've also been receiving basic questions like, what even are artisan keycaps? Where do I buy them? Why do they cost so much, and can they work on any keyboard? So, this video is going to cover the basics of artisan keycaps and is intended for people who aren't really familiar with them. This isn't a tutorial video on how to make them, so if that's what you're looking for, feel free to check out the other videos on my channel. So with that, let's get started with the video. Artisan keycaps, or sometimes just referred to as artisans, are custom-made keycaps for mechanical keyboards. There are different materials and ways to make them, but I'd say that most are painstakingly handmade using resin. If you're interested in the process, you can check out my other videos, but for a quick overview, artisan keycaps generally start from a sculpt. This is either made from clay or sculpted in a 3D program. Artisan keycap makers use this sculpt to create silicone molds, and lastly carefully pour resin into these molds. The end result, a resin cast artisan keycap. Now you might be thinking, these look really cool, can I buy one and stick it on my keyboard right now? Well, only if you have a mechanical keyboard. No, not these, and usually not the included keyboards that come packaged with your computer. Mechanical keyboards actually have switches under each individual key that look something like this. There are different types of switches, but the standard and most popular switch are those with the Cherry MX stem. It's cross-shaped, and this is what basically all artisan keycaps are made to fit. Three platforms that come to mind for finding new artisan keycaps are Reddit, Instagram, and Etsy. I'd say in general, you'll find more makers in the first two. One of the most popular subreddits is r/mechmarket. And browsing this subreddit and filtering using the artisan flare is a great way to find artisan makers that you may be interested in following. Though I think the best way to stay up to date with each maker is to then follow them on Instagram or on their website if they have one. There are a couple different types of sales that artisan makers usually have. I'll be covering the ones that I feel are the most common, so don't view this as an exhaustive list. I think the most common is a raffle sale. A raffle sale works by having everyone interested in purchasing the keycap enter into a pool, with entries generally being open for some number of hours. The maker then will randomly select a certain number of winners and grant them the opportunity to purchase one of their keycaps. You might think this sale format is somewhat strange, but keep in mind that artisan keycaps are made by hand, so the quantity being sold by a maker is usually a pretty small amount. Demand often exceeds supply, and a raffle sale helps even the playing field so everyone basically has the same chance of purchasing one. Another type is a fulfillment sale, which means that the maker will have a specific window of time where they'll be taking orders, say for like a week. Everyone who pays for a keycap during this window will be guaranteed a keycap. Once this window closes, no more orders will be accepted. This type of sale usually takes the longest in terms of when you actually receive the keycap you paid for, since the maker has to fulfill whatever number of orders they receive during this window. And remember, artisan keycaps are handmade, so be prepared to wait if you enter a fulfillment sale. The last one I'll be discussing is a first come first served sale, often typed out online as FCFS. Some people also call this a flash sale. This is basically how everything else is sold online. For example, the stuff you buy on Amazon. A lot of people seem to dislike this kind of sale, since by the time you see the maker's sale post for one of their new keycaps, it could already be sold out. Now that you know the sale types, how you actually enter any of these sales is usually done via a combination of Google Forms and PayPal. When you see a sale listing, it will usually link to a Google form. This should typically have images of the keycap, the price, and shipping prices. You'll also need to fill out things like your name, username, and your PayPal email address. After you've filled out the sale form, you usually have to wait to see if you get a PayPal invoice sent to you. For raffle sales, this means waiting for the maker to select the raffle winners. For fulfillment and first come first served sales, as long as you entered the form in time, you'll get the invoice sent to you. Once you receive the invoice, PayPal will have you input your payment method and shipping address, just like any e-commerce transaction. After you've paid the invoice, the maker will pack and ship it to you, and usually send you a tracking number as well. From there, all you gotta do is wait for it to show up at your door. I've seen this question asked a decent amount of times, and if you look at Mech Market, you can see a pretty drastic range of prices for artisan keycaps. Some sell for as low as $25 each, some sell upwards of $55, $60 each, and some go way higher. If you look at the resale market, it's not hard to find some being resold for over $100 or $200 of their original price. Buying 2 or 3 artisan keycaps can easily cost you more money than purchasing a mechanical keyboard. To a lot of people not in the community, these types of prices can seem kinda outrageous on first glance. I've seen a lot of comments online of people saying that artisans are way overpriced and that makers are being greedy. In my opinion, I believe that artisans are actually priced pretty fairly. There's a lot of factors to this, and everyone's process is a bit different, but the cost of materials and the hours worked to produce the end result you often see on Instagram can easily make it so that these makers aren't really making a profit for a long time. A lot of makers also don't share their failures that often, but I'm sure that every maker has trash cans full of dozens of B-stock keycaps that just didn't turn out how they wanted them to. The hobby of artisan keycap making isn't for the purpose of making money, and if that's the only thing driving a maker, then honestly they probably won't last very long. There are definitely faster and easier ways to make a profit. True, a $50 price tag for a small piece of resin that sits on one single key of your mechanical keyboard is pretty expensive, but it's not just a piece of resin. It's a piece of art that a maker somewhere in the world poured their blood, sweat, and tears into making.